Hello internet friends, I'm currently playing through Phantom Brigade and enjoying it very much, but it can be a challenging game to learn at the start with its prediction mechanic. In this video I'm going to give you my 5 top tips for survival and ultimately prevailing in this challenging mech tactics game. Number 1, take the time to analyse in detail. You know everything that's going to happen in the next 5 seconds, but that's not going to help very much if you miss things. Things that often trip me up are shots that take place very close up, for instance, so you don't see the red line of sight of doom because it's so short. Also, just because you've got the broken line of sight, it's obstructed by a building or a hill, that doesn't mean everything from that attack is going to be blocked. If it's at the edge, for instance, and it's a machine gun attack, some of those shots might still hit your mech, so it's worth considering whether you're in cover enough. Check the type of attack that is incoming. Railguns, for instance, go through buildings. So make sure, even though you've tracked that shot into a building, check that it's not a railgun or a beam weapon. There's more to look at than just those lines of attack. Also, once you start to move your mechs around, they can become targets for each other. So check you're not moving into the angle of attack of your own mechs. Friendly fire is definitely a thing in this game. Your guys won't stop firing. They will do exactly what you tell them, and that includes shooting you in the back. I suppose the principle is you have all the information you need to win, and you just need to take the time to analyze it. That is, apart from my second tip, which is missiles. They are the only thing that you can't predict. You can see when they fire, you get the arc of an incoming missile, but once they're in the air, it's up to you. You've got to time how long it's going to take for those missiles to get within range of your mech and then take action. If a launch happens on the other side of the map, then they probably won't even reach you this turn, so you don't even get the launch indicator. You have to remember a turn from now that they're going to be still incoming and which mech they are targeting. Personally, because of this added difficulty, I prioritize missiles first. They travel at roughly 22 meters per second. That's a very rough estimate based on my own experience, and you basically have 2 counters. You can either move behind a hill or a building and try and get them to track into it, or you have to dash at the right moment. The latter is the harder thing to do. They have made it slightly easier recently because they have to be within 90 meters and then you have to dash in order to scramble their tracking, and then they'll fly off in all directions. It can be difficult. Personally, if I have missiles incoming to a mech, I just make that my priority for the next turn or 2. It can mean that unit is doing nothing except avoiding things for a turn, but it's much better than a bunch of missiles slamming into it. If in any doubt about when they're going to hit, just keep dashing as much as you can, even if you have to overheat. Do bear in mind that just because they scramble doesn't mean they've gone from the map. They will land somewhere. They could land behind your mech, they could land on another of your mechs. It just means now they're randomly landing in places. So missiles are still a problem in this game, and learning to dash at the right time, learning to prioritize them and track them into buildings is important. One of the few things you can't predict in the future, flipping missiles. Number 3, focus fire. It's a strategy you could apply to any number of tactics games, games more broadly really. If you're confronted by 5 enemies and you have 5 guys of your own, then you get all 5 of your guys to fire on one enemy. You don't spread your damage across the line. And that's true in Phantom Brigade. If you're firing missiles yourself, fire them all at the same target as you're running towards them, moving your mechs into the optimal distance to focus fire. It's a basic strategy, but because it's basic, doesn't mean everyone knows it, and it's worth reiterating, very effective in this game. Number 4, a related topic, fire from the flank or from the rear wherever possible. The rear is particularly effective since you're much more likely to concuss the pilot, taking the mech out of the fight, even if all its components are still intact. Another strategy from a lot of tactics games, but in Phantom Brigade it's particularly effective, not just because of the increased damage from the flank and the rear, but because of the concussion mechanic. It also means that more undamaged and potentially high quality mech parts are going to be salvageable at the end of the map. And finally on this quick list, stand still to shoot. Your fire is much less accurate while you're moving with most weapons, and I mean a lot. It's a lot less. These are all degrees. It's like, yeah, you can apply a lot of this to all sorts of different games, but how much is it a factor in this particular game, Phantom Brigade? It's big in this game. You're much better standing still. Given that you can predict the future, there's really no need to be moving all the time, like in an action game where things are unpredictable. We know what's going to happen ahead. So if there's no incoming fire, there's no need to move. Unless we need to move to get into a new position, we might as well stand still and maximize our fire and our aim. If you do have to run towards enemies while shooting, try to do it head on so the bullets are going straight ahead, not spraying across them. Yeah, but wherever possible you should be standing still in this game. It's massive. These are some basic principles for new starters that I wanted to put up here. Things that I needed to remember. How do they apply to Phantom Brigade? Are they important in this game? Yes, they are, and here's how they work in Phantom Brigade. Things like the rear attack, the concussion mechanics, how effective is moving as opposed to standing still. I wanted to put a video out for them, but there are lots of other things to talk about, like what to prioritize when you're building your mechs, how to mitigate heat buildup and what you're looking for there in order to maximize the effectiveness of each mech. The game-changing concept of this very unassuming command in this game, the wait command, it is massive. The difference that understanding how the wait command works, just telling your mech to wait a little while, forget attack, forget run, forget dash, forget guard, wait, is really important in this game. If you're interested in me covering that or anything else in this game, please let me know in the comments. If you have other questions, please post them there too. Thank you for watching. I really like doing these guides for games as I'm playing them, learning the mechanics, giving some information to people who are starting out. It's a learning process. It's that feeling of like, I was really struggling at the start here, but things are starting to click into place and you want to share that knowledge. So if you get a second, you like the video, please do subscribe. I've been Napier and I'll see you next time.